Hello everyone, welcome to Talking Health with Dr. Laz, your favorite health program on television. As usual, reaching you from Nigeria's capital city, Abuja. My name is Dr. Laz Eze. Today we'll be looking at a very important topic, something that happens very often and something that everybody needs to know about. We'll be talking about the patient's rights. We need to know about the rights and how we can protect them. We also need to know what medical negligence means, and we need to know how to seek redress or how to make a complaint when there is any case of such. Over the last weekend, there were two hashtags that were trending, and I think it's probably still trending on social media in Nigeria. It's a justice for Peju and justice for Omolara. A month ago, there was a media report in one of the newspapers about someone who had gunshot injury and had to die because the hospital where he was taken to in Lagos, an accountant, for that matter, could not attend to him. We also have a video that circulated on social media about a patient who was taken to a hospital here in Abuja and wasn't attended to, especially Maitama Hospital, from what they were saying in that video. And they had to create a scene that made workers of the hospital to come and, of course, started giving attention to the patient. These are just a few of many cases like this that happen in different parts of the country, and people get to die from highly preventable circumstances. The government of Nigeria, being aware of this, had made a law as far back as 2014, the National Health Act, that made it mandatory for every case of emergency to be attended to by healthcare providers. And there is penalty for any healthcare provider that fails to do so. And it said under no condition should a healthcare provider refuse to provide services in emergency situations. So I wouldn't bore you with so much in the introduction because I have a lawyer who is a patient's rights advocate who is going to be joining me today, and we are going to deep dive into this, beginning from getting to know what the rights of patients are, the Patient's Bill of Rights that the Consumers Protection Council needs, and the various legislative and policy framework that empowers everybody as a patient. And when we talk about patients, it has to do with all of us. Even as a medical doctor, I can also be a patient. Every one of us is a potential patient. And it's important that we get to learn about these rights and also begin to hold healthcare workers more accountable as they do their best to provide healthcare services to all of us. So we have to take a break now. When we return, I'll be introducing my guest further. We've had him on the program during the World Health Day, and we did promise that we'll have him again to talk more about those rights. Here we have him today. Do follow us on our social media handles. Let's take a break. We'll be right back shortly. Welcome back to Talking Health with Dr. Laz, your favorite health program on television. Yes, we are going to learn more about patients' rights, Patient's Bill of Rights, or the rights of everybody that uses healthcare facilities. And with me already in the studio is Barrister Ebenezer Egwuatu. He is the founder of Lawyers Arise for the People initiative and also a national steering team member of the Make Our Hospital Work campaign. You are welcome to the program.
Thank you, Dr.
Once
Laz.
again.
It's always a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. So over time, I must say that a lot of health workers do take patients for granted. And I'm a health worker, so I know what I'm talking about. But there are also a lot of health workers who are so very professional, fantastic, and make a lot of sacrifices for the Nigerian people, and of course, all over the world. But the health sector is one area where we do not accept mistakes. We do everything humanly possible to make sure that the patient gets the best. So we're going to go into the discussion proper, and you do more of the talking. So talking about patients' rights. Let's get the slides on, please. Next slide. Okay, so you take it off from there. When we talk about patients' rights, what does that really mean?
Okay, you see here, the rights, patients' rights are those rights that guarantee 1, professional, 2, quality, 3, transparent, and 4, safe health care delivery.
Okay.
Not just this, this same rights also guarantees respect for the dignity of the person of the patient by healthcare professionals in the course of providing services for the patient.
Okay, so keywords there: professional, quality, transparency,
and
safety.
Yes.
You know, safety.
Then we now talk about respect for the dignity of the person.
Treating them as, human beings, giving them the due respect.
That's just what patients' rights are.
Is essentially about. Okay, so let's get to the next. You know, where are these rights derived from? What legal instruments, gave these rights to the patient?
We have international conventions and treaties. We have acts of the National Assembly.
Okay.
For international convention and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights is there. We have other conventions that fall under this category.
Yes,
then the Geneva Convention is there, the Hippocratic Oath and all that. So we have them. We also have laws of the National Assembly.
Yes,
acts
so let's
of the National
move to the
Assembly,
next. We are projecting this so that you could take a snapshot of it and
this still falls under the first category, International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights, 1966.
I think that's the do no harm principle.
Yes. Then the Lisbon Declaration is very key to what we are discussing.
Okay.
Because this served as the major effort to codify patients' rights in a single document. Okay. So you can Google Lisbon Declaration. There are other rights that are contained here, but this was the major effort.
Yes.
The first attempt to codify patients' rights in a single document.
Okay, so
then
I can see the
I
National
talked about
Health Constitution.
Acts of National Assembly. We have the National Health Act of 2014. We have the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, what we call fundamental human rights, which is chapter 4 of the Constitution. You have them there also provide because...
But does our Constitution have a specific provision on health?
No.
I know about right to life.
There is right to life.
Yes.
There is no right to health.
Okay.
Specifically.
Yes.
But I said here the last time I appeared, section 17.3, talking about state policies, it did not exactly provide for right to health.
Which is a strong provision
and
in our
because
Constitution.
and even if it did, that section of the Constitution is under chapter 2. It is not justiciable, meaning that you cannot go to court to enforce that right. So if I gave you a right that is not enforceable, does that right really exist? It doesn't.
Okay, so I hope this is something that the National Assembly will take care of in subsequent constitutional reviews. We should have a right to health that is justiciable.
Yes. You
can go to court and enforce that right as a Nigerian. Right.
We also have the HIV/AIDS Anti-Discrimination Act 2014 solely for patients or persons living with HIV/AIDS because they suffered stigma and discrimination. We also have a compulsory treatment. This is key. Compulsory treatment and care for victims of Gunshot Act 2017. A lot of Nigerians have died.
Mr. President signed in December 2017.
Yes. A lot of Nigerians have died because people have not invoked this particular act, the powers of this, even when it has been enacted and is a law.
As a law.
Yes, in Nigeria.
Let me emphasize that to our viewers. Let me emphasize that to our viewers. If you're watching this, know that there is a law in Nigeria that makes it mandatory that any patient whatsoever must be treated in emergency situations. That National Health Act, Section 20. And the Compulsory Treatment and Care for Victims of Gunshot Act makes it mandatory to treat a patient without asking for police reports.
Yes.
So any healthcare worker who says bring police report before they treat anyone with gunshot injury, please let them know there is a law that makes it mandatory.
Very key.
And while they are making that treatment, they will now alert the police that they have someone with gunshot injury. It's very important that you know. Okay.
We have state laws. A good example here is Lagos State. enacted a law in 2007 to protect persons living with HIV/AIDS.
Okay, so I think we may
the
just
next slide,
go through these, the professional codes and ethics. Let's move into the rights proper. So, yeah, this is still
policies
about
and regulations of regulatory agencies. The Patients' Bill of Rights was brought into existence by the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection
Council.
Yes.
And derived from the National Health Act.
Yes. Then we also have, we are still dealing with COVID. So the National Human Rights Commission last year came up with a minimum standard guidelines for the human rights of persons, patients receiving treatment, COVID treatment in centers in Nigeria.
So, so patients' rights that are applicable in Nigeria, right to emergency treatment.
Yeah, we cannot overemphasize these rights. Every patient in Nigeria has a right to be treated in an emergency situation. That's the provision of Section 20 of the National Health Act. And the beauty of this particular provision is that subsection 2 of that particular provision says that where a hospital or a healthcare provider or anybody defaults in this, the patient can actually
go to court.
Yes, right? If the hospital is found liable, they'll pay a fine of 100,000 naira, or even a healthcare provider is found liable, the person will pay a fine of 100,000. But it does not stop at that. Secondly, the person could even go to a prison for a term not less than 6 months.
Okay, right to information on the nature of ailment.
This is key. Also, you should be informed on the nature of your ailment, the treatment procedures available, the cost, the risk implication, and you will be allowed to make informed decision, which we will get to later, which is consent.
Let me break down further. What the National Health Act that made that provision says that as a patient, you have the right to ask any question whatsoever to your care provider, whether it's a doctor, a nurse, a CHU. It's your right to ask any question whatsoever about your health. If you go to any healthcare provider and you ask questions and the person ignores you and say, do you want to teach me my job? It's a red flag. It's possible the healthcare provider is not competent. Any competent and professional healthcare provider will explain to you. But of course, we know that they are attending to so many patients, but it's not an excuse to be rude to patients.
In fact, the Patients' Bill of Rights further expands this particular right by saying the information should be in the language the patient understands. So if you do not understand the English language, the healthcare provider should endeavor to get an interpreter so that you properly understand what is wrong with you.
Health-wise, just to add to that, persons living with disability, are also patients, and they must be carried along, leaving no one behind. Not many hospitals have sign language interpreters. So policymakers and hospital owners, please engage the services of sign language interpreters. Okay, so let's move to the
right to informed consent. Now, this is after you have been told the nature of the ailment and, more importantly, the treatment options. It's not just that this is the only available treatment option. No, the treatment options and their cost implications. It is after you've gotten this information that you can now make informed decision,
consent,
then give your consent. That simply means you are authorizing the healthcare provider to touch your body, to
sorry, I'll have to cut you because and we have to move faster after the break. We'll take a break very shortly, and when we return, we are going to continue this conversation with Barrister Ebenezer Egwuatu. He is a patient's rights advocate. Do stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Talking with Dr. Laz, your favorite health program on television. We are still talking about the rights of patients in Nigeria, and Barrister Egwuatu, so let's roll.
We have rights to confidentiality of your medical records. Now, your medical records should not be revealed to a third party or any person without your consent, except, of course, members of the medical team handling you.
We also, even after the person is dead, it's not supposed to be disclosed.
We also have rights to obtain your medical records. It falls under the same rights. Section 23 of National Health Act, 3A,
so
3B.
that means
because
anytime you need your medical information,
we
you
have
should
talked
get
about
it.
rights to information. That information could be verbal or written.
Okay.
So the written part of that information is your medical record. The verbal one is the earlier one we talked about.
All right.
Then we have right to refuse or decline treatment. Now, this is key. Unfortunately, healthcare providers do not tell patients that they have these rights. Under what circumstance can someone decline treatment? There's a religious, if someone belongs to a sect, you have a right to decline treatment.
Yes,
if
and
your
they
sect
call
doesn't,
it living against medical advice sometimes, or
Then we have right to terminate medical service. If you have been treated,
if you are not satisfied
with the service
way
you're getting,
you are being treated,
you have a right to terminate.
You can say,
yes,
I want to go elsewhere.
Continue treatment. Then you have a right to transparent billing. What it means is that as you are being treated, your bill is accumulating, the healthcare provider or facility should be informing you as the bill is accumulating, madam, the syringe we used today is 200 naira. They add it to your bill. The procedure you underwent yesterday is 10,000 naira. They add it to your bill.
And
so that at the end of the day,
if you pay for blood and they don't use it, perhaps you should have your money back.
Then, yeah, that's it. Right to transparent billing provided for.
Let's move. Right
to privacy, particularly in general ward, because for private hospitals, they are doing well in this regard. But for public government hospitals and those who, the general ward, you see patients who are being treated in the open, such that even visitors come to see. So healthcare providers should provide screens or shield to cover, create relative privacy as you're treating the patient so that the next person do not see. Then right to respectful and dignified care, section 34 of the Constitution. Then we have a right to quality care, very important, the Patient's Bill of Rights. You also have right to visitation.
Okay, but that right to visitation is within the allowable time.
Yes, subject to the allowable time.
Visiting hours. So please don't just go anytime and say you have right to visitation.
You have right to clean, safe and secured healthcare environments. You have right to religious observance as a patient. Then we had talked about this care, minimum standard guidelines. That's where that right is gotten from. Then you have right to lay complaint if you're dissatisfied with the healthcare service you have received.
Right, so let nobody intimidate you not to talk when you are not happy with the quality of care you're receiving. Okay, so we've gone through those rights, but before we round up, there is these two hashtags. These are not just hashtags. These are human beings, trending on social media over the weekend. About the first person is Peju, Justice for Peju. They say she had fibroid. There was a statement, a public statement, went for treatment, walked to the hospital, had surgery, like on a Friday, died on a Sunday. And there was a lot of issues around what happened between Friday and Sunday. And autopsies showed that she had internal bleeding after the operation. And the family and loved ones were not happy. They accused the hospital in Lagos of medical negligence. Also, the second for Omolara, whose friend also went on Twitter to share information around how she complained of ulcer pains, went to a hospital, apparently, mismanaged in that hospital. And as at the time they were referring, no ambulance that followed them. She was on oxygen. She was taking off oxygen and referred before she got to Lagos.
She was on oxygen
at the private hospital
and taking off oxygen and referred.
And she died before she got to last.
Definitely, you've removed the oxygen.
So these are the accounts from the patient's side. Of course, we've not heard from the hospitals that are concerned, but these are legitimate issues that have to do with medical negligence. 30 seconds, what's medical negligence and what do we do, which we get to know in the next slide.
Medical negligence is simply the failure of the healthcare provider to exercise degree of care, reasonable degree of skill and care in treating the patients. The failure, it could be by doing what he's not supposed to do or by not doing what he's supposed to do. but at the end of the day, he did not exercise reasonable degree of skill and care in treating the patients.
Okay, face your camera.
Now,
so let's, what should people do when they experience medical negligence?
simple,
let's get
we've
it on
talked about
next
the
slide.
right to complain.
Right to complain?
Yes, and there are three layers. There is the administrative complaint or redress the patient should seek. There is the professional redress, and there is the legal redress.
So the administrative is
The administrative complaint to the hospital management, the professional complaint to the professional body. If it's a nurse, go to National Midwifery Council of Nigeria. If it's a doctor, Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria. If it's a lab scientist, of like that, they have their disciplinary organization bodies. Then the legal, where you are still dissatisfied, you can go to court.
You can go to court.
Either file a civil action or a criminal action, depending on what happened to the patients.
Yes, I know you have so much to say, Barrister Egwuatu, but
time is not always on our side.
Yes, yeah. So that's what it essentially is. People can take actions, reporting to the hospital, reporting to the professional regulatory body, or even going to court to seek justice. Thank you very much for joining us on this program today. I really thank Ebenezer Egwuatu for the fantastic job you're doing through the Lawyers Arise for the People Initiative, LAPI.
Thank you very much.
Where you champion cases of those who are possibly maltreated. But I think we need to do more as healthcare professionals in getting the health system to work.
Yes, not just everybody has to bring his hand on deck.
All hands on deck to make
let's make this thing work, because today you are not the patient, tomorrow you will
anybody can be the patient. That's the much we can take today on this program. We've talked about patients' rights. We know you possibly have so many questions to ask. Please keep them coming on our social media platforms to direct them to Barrister Egwuatu to possibly respond to many of them. So the same station, the same time next week, we are going to do more around how to make our hospital work, run some couple of series to make sure that every one of us play our parts. My name is Dr. Laz Eze. Bye for now.